Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to talk about Marvel Realm of Champions. This game right here that is actually, unfortunately, shutting down. And it will be shutting down at the end of March of this year. So I wanted to make this video to not only talk about Marvel Realm of Champions, which, by the way, this was one of the release trailers in late 2020 when it came out, but also to extend the logic and talk about the wider space of Marvel games and Marvel mobile games and how I think this relates and what we can learn from this to extend to Marvel Future Fight, Marvel Future Revolution, Marvel Contest of Champions, because what affects one game can have a surprisingly large effect on other games. So we're just going to jump in here with Realm of Champions first. And first of all, what I want to say is, even though I didn't play this game, I never made any content about it on this channel, I'm not really into the kabam side of the Marvel mobile game empire that Netmarble has built. I have a lot of respect for people that make games, and it takes a lot of effort to put something out there, period, whether it's, successful or not. And with this level of polish, you rarely see games this good not succeed for longer. Because if we're taking a look at the overall amount of time, and look at this amazing intro cinematic. They're eating their, possible shawarma or burritos here. You've got all these amazing character models and things like that. This is awesome, right? This is really good stuff. And this is October 2020. And the game is coming to an end March 31st, 2022. So it lasted less than 2 years from release beta to closing. That is an extremely short amount of time, given that we know, at least in the Marvel realm, MFF is coming up on its 7-year anniversary. MCOC just had its 7-year anniversary. They're into their 8th year. Puzzle Quest has been around for at least 5 or 6 years, possibly. It's possibly older than MFF, I'm not exactly sure. So this is not like a space where Marvel is struggling to create a foothold. They've got some very successful, they've got 20 years of games across 3 genres here, and this video, again, less than 2 years ago, racked up over 2 million views. This was huge. So what went wrong? Honestly, I'm not sure, and I can't really speculate on what's gone wrong. I don't want to speculate too much on it. I will speculate a little bit, but I don't want to do too much speculation because it's kind of just a bummer. But we'll get into that a little bit later. I want to talk first about the announcement and some other things. So they posted this announcement today saying that they're going to be closing the game on March 31st of this year. So it's just 2 months and change from now. They've already taken the game down from the App Store and the Play Store, so you can't even go and download it now if you hadn't already downloaded on a device. And they've disabled in-app purchases. On top of that, so there's a lot of stuff here, but it's pretty sad. They've been working on this game hard at work for years, and so they have a backlog of updates and items and things that they wanted to get out to the players and never got a chance to, which is, in my opinion, is pretty tragic. So they're actually going to be releasing these unreleased gear sets and weapons. They're going to be making it easier for the existing player base to play. Basically, just a bon voyage, a farewell gift to their hardcore, loyal fan base of gamers who have been playing, right? Which I think is really, really nice. And then they're sort of going to be encouraging their existing player base to, they're encouraging their existing player base to head on over to their sister game, Contest of Champions, but also to stick around a little bit to see the ending to the story of Who Killed Maestro, which was sort of in that intro cinematic that I played there, where it showed that movie clip or the news clip here that the Maestro had been killed. So I really like what they're doing here because they're still focusing on the story, and I think that's really important, and that's honestly one thing that is going to make Marvel games, it makes current Marvel games succeed, and it's going to make future Marvel games succeed. But I also think it's interesting here that they're sort of confirming what we already thought about Realm of Champions and Marvel Future Revolution, that they're kind of like, in a way, sister games, brother games, spiritual successor games to the 2 incumbent heavyweights, Contest of Champions and Marvel Future Fight. And while Contest of Champions has basically dominated the space relative to Future Fight, Future Fight's doing really well. Our game is doing really well in comparison to Future Revolution. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but it sort of, it doesn't exactly echo what's going on here, but it's just interesting to see that the older games are the ones going strong, and it's the newer games that are having hiccups, having false starts and sort of slip-ups and stumbles, or outright early closures, unfortunately. So yeah, it's also pretty interesting what they're doing for all players who had accounts. They can then get a compensation pack, an adjustment pack based on their progress. And here's the keyword: investment in Realm. Now, this is really important. This is something that a lot of people are going to gloss over, but this is actually really important, not because you deserve something for spending money on Realm in another game, but this represents an idea that I think a lot of more recent technology, blockchain, crypto, cough, has sort of, hinted at and winked at and pointed to, that you don't really want to invest in a game, heavily invest in a game, a mobile game, thinking that in a few years it could shut down and you'd lose all your progress. Because all these games are stored online on servers that are paid for by the companies that are developing the games, not by you. And so even if you want to keep playing Marvel Avengers Alliance on Facebook, or even if you want to keep playing Marvel Heroes Omega, you just can't. And that sucks, of course. But on the flip side, to start seeing this in 2022 is a really bright sign for the future of mobile gaming. I don't want to make too big of a fuss out of it, but hey, that's pretty cool, that's all I want to say there. And I don't hope to see more of this in the sense of seeing more canceled games. But what I hope to see is more of an integration between games across the same publisher that encourages staying within that ecosystem and being rewarded for doing so. There was very little, if any, reward for players moving between MFF and MFR. And a lot of people were like, can I transfer my characters from MFF to MFR? And like all this crazy stuff. That's not exactly what I'm saying or hoping for or thinking is a reality of the situation. But it's nice to see that they're trying to do something here. It's nice to see that they're not just saying, hey, this game didn't make enough money. Bye. We're closing the doors. We're turning off the lights. Peace. See ya. They're really trying to extend an olive branch here. So very large kudos and round of applause to the devs here. It's sad, but I think there were some signs that this game wasn't meeting expectations months ago, possibly even closer to a year ago. And the first thing I want to point to, and I'm not pointing to this because I really don't want to kick them while they're down. I feel bad for Realm of Champions 100%. All the devs that worked on it, I really hope they all land on their feet. But what I want to show you guys, because we do get a lot of FUD and we do get a lot of negativity in MFF when there's a bad update, or when there's a new monetization that's really grubby. I can point to the Hellfire Gala update having 66% dud uniforms with Mr. Sinister and Colossus both being kind of and then the artifacts. So I could honestly say there's probably a lot of people posting right now on line groups, Discord, Twitter, Facebook, saying this game's shutting down, the 7-year anniversary is the last one, yada yada yada. It's possible, right? But okay, let's take a look at some things here. Realm of Champions, and now we know this game struggled from the beginning. They did not even amass 12,000 followers in the 2 years, just about 2 years, right? Because it's about 18 months, but then you add about 6 months to that because they were doing buzz leading up to the game, right? They had like a presentation at PAX and they were releasing new trailers and stuff like that. So they had close to 2 years to drum up hype for the game. And although they found 2 million views on the Marvel Entertainment YouTube channel, they were not able to convert enough of those into actual fans, right? Like, it takes a pretty ardent fan, a pretty hardcore fan to go and make a Twitter account and follow, right? Let's take a look at Marvel Future Fight, for example. How many followers? Just under 75,000. Okay. And then take a look at my Twitter. By the way, guys, just a quick plug here. If you are not plugged in to Cynicalex, at Cynicalex with an extra X because someone took my original name, you should be. What are you doing? All right, if you're getting an A, you could be getting an A+. If you're making $15 an hour, that's not a living wage, and we seriously need to stop the oligarchy that's happening in North America. Anywho, back to what I was saying. You should follow me on Twitter because I have more Twitter followers than Realm of Champions, and that's what I think is the biggest thing you should look for. That's basically the only thing we can look for as casual and hardcore fans, not developers, not insiders. Really, all we can look towards is their social media presence, their YouTube presence, right? How many content creators there are for the game. Name a content creator for Realm of Champions. I wish I could. And I wish there were more content creators for other games that I really like, or like for Marvel Future Revolution, but there aren't. And the reason for that is sort of because there aren't enough players, right? The more players the game has, like look at Fortnite. You can't walk 10 steps down a mall in Nashville, not Nashville, I don't know, but you get what I'm saying. There's Fortnite YouTubers everywhere. because it's one of the most popular games of all time, possibly the most. On the flip side, if a game is struggling to have a social media presence, chances are not that many people are logging in to play their game in the first place. Now, I'm going to do a bit of speculation here. I'm not the biggest fan of doing speculation, but in my opinion, if I had to guess why this game didn't succeed, I think it is a combination of two factors. The first factor is when it was released. This was like prime pandemic time, right? This is late 2020. We're in the thick of the first worldwide lockdown. Everyone is home. And I know what you're thinking, Alex, if everyone's home, aren't they going to be on their phones? Yeah, sure, they're going to be on their phones to tweet and take selfies and whatever, not to play games. I honestly think, although the pandemic may have helped mobile games initially, like in the first 6 months, I think a prolonged pandemic and a prolonged lockdown and this kind of stuff has actually hurt mobile games a lot. And I think a lot of people are moving away from mobile games in general because a lot more people can work from home now, or they're not working at all, or they're at home or whatever. And so they have access to their consoles, their PCs, and other gaming devices that they can use daily, right? When everyone had to leave the house and everyone had to travel and do all this stuff, then of course mobile gaming is way better, because you're on the train to work, you're mobile gaming. You're in the toilet in the middle of work, you're mobile gaming. You're at your desk working and you're trying to hide that you're mobile gaming, right? You're not going to bring your big ass Switch to work and get fired. There's no way. But you can bring your phone to work, or you have to bring your phone to work. You see what I'm saying? So I actually think the pandemic was a really rough time to basically release almost any game. I really do think that, especially for the mobile game environment. And then the second thing, I think, because despite the game having gorgeous visuals, having a pretty catchy gameplay loop, I think the other big problem, in my opinion, is the characters didn't look enough like Marvel characters. And I know this is going to sound weird, but it's sort of the same thing that we've seen with Marvel's Avengers, and how violent, how vehemently people rejected Marvel's Avengers when they saw, right, like Marvel's Avengers, when they saw that these characters didn't look like the movie versions. And that's a dumb reaction, don't get me wrong, but it happened. Like, we know it happened, right? People were not happy. And for whatever reasons, these older mobile games have been able to dodge that sort of judgment, but newer games absolutely have not been able to dodge that judgment. And they've been sort of unreasonably critiqued for having a non-MCU vibe to their games. And I think that's one of the issues with Realm of Champions. Like, it's one thing to have a small roster, and we can see what a small roster is hurting. We can see when a small roster is hurting a game like Avengers, hurting a game like Future Revolution, but they still have to feel, right? Even a small roster, if it feels like a Marvel game, if it feels like you're playing Marvel characters, people get into it. I'm not sure that it really felt like you were playing as a Marvel version, as a Marvel character. I do think there is such a thing as too much customization, over customization. And don't get me wrong, as cool as this character looks, like this Valkyrie Odin hybrid with dual elements, like this looks really cool, I just don't think it's going to appeal to a casual Marvel fan. Like this, I think this is really more for absolutely omega hardcore fans, because when you're initially a fan of something, at least in my opinion, you just want to see that core thing that you're a fan of, right? And then as you become a fan for longer, for months, for years, for decades, you begin to explore the areas outside of the fandom. Like outside of that core fandom, you look at fan fiction, you look at what if scenarios, you look at alternate realities and this kind of stuff, right? So I think they may have jumped the gun. That looks so funny. I think they may have jumped the gun a little bit, and maybe audiences were just not ready. Maybe this game was ahead of its time. You know, that's definitely a possibility. But I don't think this game failed in the gameplay department. I don't think this game failed in the graphics department, the aesthetic department. The only other thing I could say that maybe the game didn't do well enough was respond to criticism, but that's kind of a staple of mobile gaming. Like, if you've played a mobile game for long enough, you know, like, they don't really respond to criticism that quickly, despite updating every month. And you can see here, this is a video of Seaton's from December 2020, just over a year ago. And I don't know if they fixed or even tried to earnestly address the gear system and gameplay mechanics that were sort of a mixture of fun and repetitive. So yeah, it's really sad to see any mobile game close down, whether it's Marvel or not. And I think there's a lot that we can learn from that. But on the flip side, on the positive side, you know, Contest of Champions is still going strong, and I'm sure that those devs and those directors and stuff are going to come out with more bangers, because they are success stories, right? One misstep does not define you, and they certainly don't need me to say that to them for them to know that. Additionally, I think that there's a silver lining here for the other existing Marvel games, because you can see where longevity really matters, and having a stable, consistent, large enough, but you know, a stable, consistent player base really helps a game like Marvel Future Fight, which, although it doesn't top the charts for highest grossing, and it's not the sexiest game in terms of the gameplay and the graphics, and well, the graphics are amazing in my opinion, but you kind of know what I'm saying. Even though it's not necessarily the sexiest Marvel game or the highest grossing, it's just chugging along, baby. It's just chugging along, and I'm here for it to. I'm ready to. I've been on the train. I'm not ready. I've been on the train for years, and I hope that it keeps chugging along for a lot longer, at least 2 or 3 more years, if not more. So yeah. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of Marvel Realm of Champions and the unfortunate goodbyes that we're going to have to make. If you played this game, maybe you give us your insights into how you felt about it and what maybe the devs could have done differently, or that sort of thing. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, I want to remember this game for the things that it did well. Like these gorgeous animations and these really cool character designs. Although I do think it hurt them a little bit, I think they're fantastic to appreciate still from now till later, till whenever. So yeah, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.